Hello everyone and welcome to our hashtag Female Boss mini YouTube series. Today I have the lovely Elena Höge, who is the founder of Yaldi Games. Elena is an amazing female boss and entrepreneur who has been incredibly successful in her field and has also pitched and received funding through Young Edge competition as well, which helped to support her journey even further. So hello Helena.
Hi there. It's great to
Hi,
be here.
welcome. So why don't we start off by, tell us a little bit about yourself and even a little bit about how you set up your business.
Honestly, about myself is I've been, a video gamer since I was 11. And I think I very quickly realized that I wanted to do this as a career, mostly because when I was in school and I played Assassin's Creed, I realized that it's actually possible to combine, learning and fun gameplay. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought, that's what I want to do. I want to create these kind of games that have that kind of impact as well. And I tried to, make the right choices. So I studied business computing to learn about business and IT, and then I've studied design and digital media to learn about game design. And I set up the company in 2020, and since then have been, being part of lots of programs and won several grants and competitions, which was amazing, and which allowed me to build a prototype and team and for the game that we're working on, which is called Wholesome Out and About.
Perfect. And it's something that I'm very much looking forward to as well myself. I can completely relate to the whole, playing them for many years myself, games. It is a great way to kind of take yourself away from the craziness of life or just get lost in that whole other world within games. And it's certainly something that is interest to a lot of our students as well. So I think they'll definitely get a lot from today's session, which I greatly appreciate again you joining us today. Now, just to kind of touch on, you've pitched and won a lot of different awards, but I'd like to talk to you about the Young Edge that you took part in. So pitching in Young Edge in front of esteemed judges and members of the audience must have been really daunting. How did you find this, and are there any sort of strategies that you maybe implemented to kind of help yourself stay calm and sort of focused while you're on stage?
Well, I didn't have to do live pitching. So in my era of entrepreneurship has been mostly digital, although I will be pitching live for the big Scottish Edge soon in December. But so digital makes things easier, right? You have your own surroundings, you can prepare yourself, count down, but still pitching will always be a challenge because you need to get across a lot of content in like 3 minutes. And there's a lot, that you can't cover ever. So you have to hope that they ask you the right questions. But a lot of times, these judges might not actually know anything about your topic. Like with games, it's particularly hard because if I had a product that I would sell right away, they could see those sales and then make their judgment based on that already. But with games, it's like, oh yeah, we're building this, but it takes a long time and costs a lot of money. So all we have is this digital, the feedback from our community. So it's a bit harder, mostly if also people don't know a lot about the games industry. But I think otherwise, what I usually do is just make sure that I prepare myself really well. I have my deck. And I go through the slides and I like maybe 10 times or something, just always having my timer there, going through slides, looking at, how long did I take, and ideally just cutting things because that makes things easier.
I'm just kind of practice makes perfect almost, I suppose,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Very important.
Definitely. And I think as part of the female boss, our students who are applying to some of the grants will need to kind of pitch to a panel of judges, like similar to what you did, obviously, but not as big as yourself. But is there any sort of hints and tips that you think you maybe offer the students that are maybe looking to do that or to start up their own business?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it would start with preparing the pitch deck if they are allowed to have one. I loved how Edge, structured their pitch with first introduce a hook, then talk about the problem, then talk about the solution, then talk about the market and the opportunity, your competitors, and then, essentially show your traction and then do your ask. So that's also how I will set up my next pitch. It's very straightforward, but yeah, I think it's those cover like a really important categories.
Yeah.
So or anything beyond that, I can just say that yeah, don't use language that is too specific to your field, and make sure that you rehearse a lot of times. And yeah, also just send this deck to a lot of different people, because feedback is always super useful. And I remember I actually did like a pre-judging pitch with I think it was Johnson Carmichael's who offered it. So that was great. I got great feedback. I was able to improve my slides based on that. Never underestimate the power of feedback.
No, definitely not. And I think it's important to try and get a variety of people as well. Like you're saying,
Yes.
it could just be friends and family, but actually getting people maybe within your field as well is greatly helpful, because they'll maybe pinpoint things that you maybe haven't thought of before. But no, that's fantastic. And obviously, because you're pitching again in December, I wish you all the luck, the
Thank
more for
you.
that as well. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about imposter syndrome as well, if that's all right.
Mhm.
And this is something that a lot of our students potentially are feeling right now. It's something that I know that a lot of business owners, both male and female, deal with this quite a lot in their careers. And I was wondering if you've ever maybe experienced something like this before, and if you have, what would you maybe say to someone who was feeling like that themselves? Like, how would you maybe get them out of that little rut maybe that they're in?
Yeah, honestly, it's the same. I mean, I did the game design for our game, but I mean, I didn't work on another game before, so it was the first time. And also because I did lots of the biz dev, I ended up having less and less time for game design,
Yeah.
which the good thing is, with imposter syndrome, it's like your wins that do help you get over certain things. Um, but yeah, I think the things that really help is talking to other people because
Yeah.
you notice that they have the same problems, and that often, if you look at a company, you think, oh, the process behind what they're doing must be amazing.
Mhm.
And then, if you really learn about it, then it's like, oh my God, that's so unorganized. Like, how did they survive this long? And like, so, there's a lot of things that you make up in your mind that aren't true. So just, actually talking to people and maybe just telling yourself that, like you actually don't know, well, how other people are doing it. And it doesn't mean that you automatically have to assume that you are doing it wrong or
Yeah.
that they are doing it better. So I think I really love the idea of like your brain being your friend, like treating yourself like you would a friend.
Yeah,
Because you would
100%.
always, yeah, you would always tell a friend like, oh, don't worry, you did this so well. And like,
Mhm.
if you're trying to um have that same mindset for yourself, I think that could help.
Definitely. And that is something that's like, it's hard to do sometimes. You might go quickly to that sort of negative place, or, oh, not done this good enough, or I could have done better here and there. But like you're saying, if you treat yourself as though how you would speak to someone else, you would never speak to someone else like that or as
Yeah.
negatively as that. You'd always be more positive and upbeat. So that 100% is something that would be useful. In terms of like balancing your day-to-day life, you were saying obviously there's a lot of things that you work on a day-to-day. How do you manage your time? Like, what would you do to kind of to keep on top of everything that you're working on? Because only yourself
Well,
and it's only yourself and Jana that works on, sorry, within Yaldi Games. So
yeah.
how do you manage all of that work that you have to deal with?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because yeah, Jana is mostly responsible for art. So it's a great position for her because she can focus entirely on this, and I'm essentially doing a lot of everything else essentially.
Okay.
And yeah, like for me, it's important that prioritizing tasks, especially based on deadlines, making sure that I have a really good note-taking system.
Mhm.
So I'm just like using Google Tasks all the time because it syncs in with the emails. It's really good. You can also create in your calendar certain
Mhm.
like essentially events as tasks that you need to
Yeah.
do. And
Mhm.
so you can just plan your day ahead and make sure that you know what you need to be working on, and when you need to be working on it. But otherwise I'm quite flexible. I
Okay.
as long as I know these most important things, which will always be the important things, things always just align. But I know that the general best practice to prioritize is to just look at importance and urgency and then map it out, like where does everything else sit, and then you can come up with your order of priorities and like to-do lists. So that's kind of how I do it, and I do try to keep meetings to a minimum, firstly, because like they are annoying.
And your time is valuable.
Exactly. They are, they, especially with the team, they can often take quite some time. But you need to make sure that you minimize them. And otherwise, it's also good to make sure that certain days stay completely clear and that you align meetings on so-called meeting days.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you can make sure that that day you don't have any meeting. You can actually, put all your time into something.
Yeah. Properly. Manage your time kind of better. Yeah. And but I like that idea of having, I know I'm quite bad for this, having meetings sort of scattered throughout the week. But having like a meeting specific day or like a workshop specific day, depending on what you're doing, I think is a massive thing that would, especially for our students, would be a good thing for them to keep in mind, setting like a specific time for them to work on the business or develop that idea a little bit further, get their confidence up. But no, that's absolutely perfect. Thank you. In terms of kind of like continuing that sort of mindset kind of vibe that we're kind of chatting about at the moment, how do you keep yourself motivated to kind of keep going?
Well, for me, it's that's a little bit, that's easy technically because I really love my product. It's I think it, if you're an entrepreneur and if you're an entrepreneur, you are an entrepreneur because you are passionate about a problem and you think you found the solution to that. And so there's a lot of passion involved. So for me, it's easier to stay focused because I just know that what I'm doing is worthwhile and that it could even have positive impact on the rest of the world, ideally. So that's what makes me persevere, essentially. And I also know that there's something, serendipity, some things, for example, one time I didn't win, with the Young Edge, I think it was my third try. Because the first one I got to the pitch stage but I didn't win, and the second one I didn't even get through because I did a mistake with the financial data. But
it happens.
But essentially that just means that when one thing doesn't work out, I essentially found that something else popped up. So I know that you have to have this optimism, to calm yourself down and be like, oh, it's going to be all right. And I think you need that as an entrepreneur, because otherwise, if you are stressing yourself out too much about certain things,
it can start getting you down.
You're going to burn out very fast.
Definitely.
I think that's one good thing that I have, definitely, is like that chill attitude a little bit, because like sometimes it might be too chill, but like, for example, I wouldn't actually, like, I'm not currently working in the evenings, and I know that other entrepreneurs, they're definitely doing it, they're pushing. But for me, it's like, oh, I can't code and I can't do the art. So what else can I actually like do if other people aren't actually like there to have meetings with or to email with or to chase grants? I think that those things are important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the students will be able to relate to that as well. That there's sometimes you just have to kind of, if you've got that positive sort of can-do attitude, like you're probably going to find that you'll maybe find it a little bit easier. And I know there will be people out there that maybe struggle with that positive mindset. I know myself, I'm quite bad for taking myself to the negative part. I'm kind of pessimistic with my little brain. But again, it's just about retraining your brain, sort of setting that mindset and making sure you can kind of keep going and keep pushing forward. And one little last question before we round up. I just wanted to ask you, in terms of obviously your career path that you've gone down, you've went down sort of gaming industry kind of side of things. Why do you love the gaming industry so much? Like, why is that your passion? Do you have a reason for that?
That's an interesting question, because the thing is, I would split it up into, I love games, but then the gaming industry is often something still quite different. So there's a lot of controversy in the gaming industry. There's like the old industry where you have lots of sexual harassment, so that's not a nice space.
Yes, unfortunately.
But then there's the new industry with all the creative and diverse and people, who are attracted to games because it's such a, well, also diverse industry, right? So I love that emerging part of the industry. But I love video games in general, because I've always I love the exploring, I love the immersion. I loved it more than, just watching movies or reading.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wanted to make games, but just add my own way of making them to them. Like I wanted to have. It's very important for me, and I think it's also just, in general, it's just very important for me to create something that has meaning besides just being entertaining. I know that shooter games have meaning because they are entertaining for their audience, but at the same time, that wouldn't be enough for me. So I love the idea that with different games, I would be able to actually teach people certain things without it feeling like teaching. And because of my own personal experience with school being, kind of like, what does school actually teach you that you can really use in life? And like, so there's so much that is left to be taught and like to be learned. And so that's I love these two passions are kind of combined. So because I'm very curious and I love games, so I was like, I can combine these. And yeah, I think the games industry is great because it's a safe industry currently because it's growing. So that's really important. And I also love how it brings together people from all disciplines. It's it has the typical business people, the marketing, the accountants, but then it has the programmers and then the 2D artists, the 3D artists, and then you've got all the sound designers and the musicians and composers. There's so much creativity, and that's why
you don't realize actually how many people are involved in making a game. It's not just about an illustrator or a coder. There's so many things behind it.
So many things, and it's actually like it's the whole spectrum of creativity. And that's also why video games are such a healthy thing for economy to focus on, because video games are, the video games industry strives when other industries are striving, and so we can bring in, like, we can give a lot of different people jobs essentially, because all these different talents. And so I'm a big fan of that, and because it's so diverse, every game you make can be completely different, and that's not often the case if you're a web designer. It's like websites,
you might be
always
more
the same.
you might be more sort of restricted to what you can do, what kind of things you can share. But no, I think that's probably something that I enjoy as well myself. I mean, I don't make games, but I do enjoy playing games. I spend far too much time on things like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing. Like I spend far too much time on it. But again, it's something for you to kind of escape, but it's a way for you to kind of go into your own little world, have some time to yourself, to relax and unwind. So, I mean, everyone has their own things that they do. I'm not gaming, I'm sitting crocheting. We all have our things. And I think that it's fantastic that you've managed to get into a career that not only you enjoy, but you're passionate about. And I think that's something that the Christians definitely will have as well. The things that they want to do and the businesses that they want to create, it's a passion that are kind of pushing them to go through it.
Amazing.
But no, I thank you so much for meeting me, and I really do appreciate it. I just want to say a massive thank you to you, Elena, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sharing your journey with us. It is so inspiring and empowering, and I know that our students will be able to take a lot from the discussion. So thank you very much. And also for all those gamers that potentially are watching, the Wholesome Out and About game is coming up out soon. You can wish list it on Steam, so help out the company and do that for them. But thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and have a great day.